With the Ford GT now finished, it's time to move on to another build. This time I'm going to be building a VW Golf from Fujimi. So first of all, as always, just let's jump into the box, view what's inside, and then go into a bit more detail later on in the video. So by Fujimi, there have been released a couple different versions of the Mark III Golf GTI. There's been the regular Golf, the Golf GTI, the VR6, and probably some other versions as well. As far as I know, the base kit is pretty much identical. There's just a couple small differences here and there in the decal sheet, the wheels, and maybe some of the grills as well, and that should pretty much be it. So in general, if you're going to look for an unboxing on one of those kits, it should be pretty similar to this one. So like I said, there are various different versions of this kit available, and in this kit they deleted a couple of the options that are in those other kits, so you're just left with this steering wheel, and I'm pretty sure in the other versions there are other options for steering wheels as well. The chassis is nicely detailed, although a lot of it is molded in, so that does make it a lot harder to give it a nice detailed look, but again, as always, with a bit of paint you should be fine, and most of it will be black and silver anyway. You can also have the option for a manual and an automatic as well. Not sure why they included two of the automatic sticks and just one of the manual, but nevertheless they did. And also the left and right hand drive versions with the wipers, and the dashboard will come later on as well. So just like on the last sprue, there are a couple of empty spots on this one as well. This is done intentionally during the manufacturing, of course, as you're left with less plastic to be used, and in our case, a couple of less spare parts, which is a bit of a shame, but I'm pretty sure we can do without. There is also an engine bay included in these kits. Now this one is molded all in one. There aren't any separate parts, so if you want to go and detail this one out, it is doable, but really hard as it is one big piece and nothing comes separate, so you do have to have a steady hand or mask off a lot of the parts. On this one you also have the option for the left and right hand drive versions, and they even did that detail for on the interior center console as well. And of course you get two dashboards, which are both nicely detailed too. There are some seats as well. The front looks pretty good, but the rear is lacking a bit as it's missing a big piece of it, but you can easily just fill that in with some plastic and filler just to make that look nice. And one of the last sprue contains a lot of the parts for the exterior, like the grille, a small spoiler for on the rear, the side mirrors, and also a lip for on the front bumper. The wheels and tires that come with this version aren't really that desirable. I'm personally not a big fan of the look. However, they seem to have the correct sizing with a bit of a thicker sidewall for the tire and a smaller wheel as they used to have back in the day. You also get some poly caps to mount them and some screws for a couple of the other parts to be mounted as well. The clear parts are also molded in one final sprue. The main clear part itself is one big piece apart from the sunroof, and it also has a nice outline for the black edge that needs to be painted on too. The rear also has some of the heat lines molded in too, which is a nice additional detail. With a lot of the recent Fujimi kits or reissues of these kits, you also get a small sheet of stickers for all the clear parts. You just easily cut out around the edges. You can just place it on the clear part to have a nice clean mask. Now, not all kits have this included, but my version just seems to have it. There's also a nice small decal sheet as well with a couple of the different versions. This one has some of the GTI logos, the Cox logos as well, and some of the other versions too. So just like all of the other sprues, the body is molded in the same black plastic. Now that is a bit of a letdown, as it can be a bit harder to paint it in some brighter colors like white, as the black plastic can sometimes show through and make it a little bit darker or duller than you're used to. Now with the right material and the right paint, it shouldn't really be that big of a deal, but if the body would have been molded in white plastic, it would have been a lot easier. Now nonetheless, all of the details are still there, of course, and they are really sharp at that. There is also a bit of a ghosting line on the roof. This is for the sunroof. They decided to have a sort of pre-molded line, which makes it easier and cleaner to cut out, but it does also leave this nasty line on the roof, which most of the time will be still visible after painting. So if you want to leave it clean like this, you do need to fill and sand it a bit, and if you want to cut it out, it's easy to do from the inside out, of course, and then you can install the glass sunroof. If you guys want to know what I'm actually going to be building out of this kit, feel free to check out my next video with the unboxing of the trans kit that I will be using for this one.